Welcome to another episode of the Sensibly Cynical podcast. My name is Sean, and today's episode is jam-packed. First, I will be talking to Tiffany and Matt from the independent rock band Blind Static. These guys are out of Dallas, Texas. They are heavy rockers, but at the same time, Tiffany has a very smooth sound, and Matt rocks out as the lead guitarist. And then later, I will be joined by Ink Panda. Yes, that Ink Panda that was recently a guest on this show. Twice, matter of fact. She's been on the podcast twice. And boy, do we have a special announcement later. I will let her make it later in the podcast. But first up is my interview with indie rock band Blind Static. All right, and joining me now, these two are an absolutely amazing band out of Dallas, Texas. Blind Static, what's good?
Hey, how's it going? We're happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show.
So Tiffany, you are the lead singer and guitarist, and Matt, you're just the guitarist.
Yeah, I do the lead.
Talk about the history of the band.
So, go ahead, I guess.
So we formed the band when we lived in California about I guess a year and a half.
Yeah.
Ago.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, and so we were just writing songs and trying to get some recordings going. And then when COVID happened, we had to relocate to Dallas. So now we're just trying to write as much music, put out anything we can.
Recording stuff, putting out new songs. We just put out a song called High Roller. It came out yesterday.
Yeah. You just, I got the message. Yeah. So what are you guys on Spotify, or is that how you guys release your music?
Yeah. So the first couple songs, we were putting them out on YouTube first. We had a song called Take the Lead that we put out a while back on YouTube. And then we were like, we need to make this Spotify official.
Yeah.
We just got on Spotify and just released that new song.
We have 3 songs on Spotify and Apple Music.
You guys do the demo tapes. You pass it to friends and stuff. Do you guys do that?
Yeah, we'll send it around to people and kind of get some feedback from some people that we know and that we know have good musical taste. Be like, hey, what do you think of this one? And if it passes the test with them, then we think we're ready to put it out.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's go in the Wayback Machine. So, how did the original band? How did y'all originally start? Oh, no, you didn't.
I don't think we said that here, but so we go way back. But as far as the band goes, we were in Hollywood, and we went and saw a show. It was Royal Distortion, right?
Yeah.
They were like the house band at the Whiskey A Go-Go on Sunset Boulevard. And we went and saw them, and they put on just a phenomenal show. We were blown away. And when we walked outside, we were hanging out, and we were just talking about it, and we were like, you know what? We need to do that. Let's make this official. Let's pick a name and get going on social media and just start putting out songs.
Yeah, we'd always been musicians, but we'd never really come together and I guess jammed he's been in other bands.
Were you into the alternative rock scene in high school and stuff? Were you one of those garage band people?
He was always just a groupie, I guess, or helping out with the gear, and then we were like, hey, you need to be singing. You're a good singer.
Hey, those were...
Get up there and shine.
Who's y'all's inspirations? If you had a greatest of all time, or the GOAT, as the kids say.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin, of course. That's one of my favorites.
That's a classic. I thought you were going to say Aerosmith. We're big Aerosmith fans.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I always try to get you to do the Steven Tyler scream on our song. So there's a lot of them that have a moment like that where it's yeah. Way too loud. I'm like, go for it, dude. Make it like Steven Tyler.
Yep.
Yeah, we had I had Chris Mariotti from Edgar Allan Poets. Y'all in California, so y'all may have heard of them, but he was a pretty chill guy, But you strike me as an Ozzy fan, Matt.
Oh yeah, I like Ozzy. I like this new album that just came out recently. I know, it wasn't. I don't think it did as well as people thought it would. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I didn't like it," but I like it. I even like his new stuff. That's That's the trendy thing now. Instead of being like, oh, I like their old stuff. It's like, no, I stuck with it. I like their new stuff.
What was the inspiration behind "Take the Lead" when that song came out? What was the deal with that?
Speaking of Ozzy and like Randy Rhoads, like shredding stuff, with "Take the Lead," we really wanted like a headbanger right at first, like to come out of the gate. So I think
we kind of picked like through the songs that we've written, we decided to put out like kind of the hardest hitting, like riff heavy one first.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely "Take the Lead."
Yeah, that one has just guitar all over it. Like there's just lead guitar shredding just like constantly throughout. And that was my choice. She was over there telling me, slow it down,
That's why she took the lead on "Slipping Away," right? That was her. That was her call. Hey, I've had no luck in this department. From what I hear, happy wife, happy life. That's what I hear.
Exactly. That is true.
It's hard to explain. Like, I've said this on the podcast so many times, my history with rock, man. Like, so I had friends that were like in the rock. I was more into like the rap scene at first, like 50 and all that. And then the people I met in high school were like, oh, no, you gotta, like, I'm like 15 and they're like giving me Disturbed, 10,000 Fists. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, there you go. 10,000 Fists.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first concert, I was 16 and I went to Disturbed, in Orlando. I didn't go out like super much. And so I'm going to Right. And I wasn't like super popular until like this year. Like this was the first year where I actually was semi-popular. So I'm like getting into the stadium. I'm like, what the fuck am I seeing? I'm seeing like mosh pits and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm like some 16-year-old like virgin kid, like like what the hell? Yeah, I'm like, shit, I can't even get laid, let alone go to the...
Calling your mom like, okay, I think I'm ready to get picked up.
Yeah, I'm like squirming and shit. They're like, oh, no, you'll be all right, bro.
One of my first concerts was like Warped Tour.
Yeah, Warped Tour.
And, oh my God, I remember my mom went with me, like me and a friend. She had to like chaperone us.
Yeah, classic mom chaperone.
Yeah, but but that was an awesome show. I mean, we love Warped Tour. We were so sad to see it canceled now.
Yeah, I heard about that, man. Like, so you guys, what's your thoughts on the grunge scene, like the super emo stuff?
We like emo stuff.
Love emo.
Yeah, we grew up on all the emo bands.
Like Brand New and Taking Back Sunday.
Okay, yeah. Well, because there's some people give it a bad rap, say it's like, oh, it's a niche. These people are, just, low, whatever, lives or whatever. But in reality, what's up with like Blink-182 in the Hall of Fame? Like, I feel like punk bands don't get the respect. You know what I mean?
It's true. A lot of the punk bands don't get the recognition or not recognition necessarily, but like I don't know.
And I mean, hold on. Yeah, and when I said low lives, I don't mean to get hate mail. I just mean that that's what people in society, like, they think about. You know what I'm trying to say?
Or like the 4 power chords.
Like obscure, what are they?
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a shame, because a lot of bands like that, like, they actually have really great songs, but you have to listen.
Yeah. But I feel like Blink-182, like, deserves the Hall of Fame spot just because they were like the innovators of pop punk. Like without them, this pop punk crap, it all goes away,
Yeah. I feel like, speaking of people who deserve to be in like the Hall of Fame, Iron Maiden needs to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
So if you had to pick a current band, who are you jamming to? Tiffany, you first. Who's like your go-to jam now?
Somebody current.
I really like Dirty Honey a lot.
Ooh, yeah. Good rocky band.
Yeah.
They got some really great songs. They just like put out a new album, and I'm like jamming to it every day.
I think it's their first album, isn't it? Like their first like full-length LP.
Yeah. I think it was an EP. They had like an EP that came out.
Yeah, and it's full of good songs.
Oh yeah, they're real rock and roll. I feel like they follow like that Aerosmith vibe kind of.
All right, you Matt?
Gosh, somebody contemporary. Listen to a lot of old stuff. I really like Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah.
Like I know they're heavier. They're not really like, we don't really play like them. They do like love swingings and stuff like that. Like I'm like, I like their new stuff. It's very poppy and electronic, but it's interesting and fun to listen to.
But it doesn't get much better than like some of their old stuff.
We were talking about this a little earlier. So talk about like growing up in Dallas like area. How was that?
It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived here my whole life. Like, I was born and raised here, and we moved to California together, like, right after we got married, and that was about, like, 4 years ago, I guess.
We're 5 now, because we're back, yeah. Because we lived in California for about 4 years. So
and Matt, where are you from originally?
Dallas also, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was very much like coming home when we came back to Dallas. And Dallas is cool. Like, Deep Ellum is a neighborhood around here that's got a lot of, like, music and, like, you know, a very, like, vibrant music scene.
Are you a Cowboys fan or you don't care about sports?
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like if you're in Dallas and people ask you about the Cowboys, I'm not there, but I feel like that's, like, the one sports team. Like, you may be the most, like, rock person ever, but if someone mentions Cowboys, you know what they're talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I feel like
they're America's team. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not really that into sports, but I'll watch the Cowboys just as kind of like the tradition because I've like always watched the Cowboys.
Watch the Cowboys play.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah. So Dallas is one of those teams where they're like iconic. You know, to bring it back to like to music. You know, they're like the Metallica. You know, timeless.
Right. Everybody knows them for better.
Well, and like growing up in Texas, like football is so huge. Yeah,
it's big out here.
It's like everybody's obsessed with football.
We have like $1 million like high school stadiums.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Like, football stadium that's like $20 million or something.
Yeah, it's like get a life rather than making money off of high school kids. Like do something else.
Who's out here betting on it? You know,
like betting on if a 17-year-old kid can score 10 touchdowns. It's like.
Texas, all the bars and everything are still closed, so we couldn't play shows, and like we couldn't really like put out feelers to find bandmates and stuff because it was in the middle of that. So now that things have settled down and bars are starting to reopen, and we have the prospect of playing shows, we're starting to look to fill our lineup with people that are in the Dallas area. So we're actually actively looking for a drummer and bass player right now.
Yeah.
We're putting out ads and messaging people and trying to find
auditioning some people and stuff like that.
Yeah, in the show notes, I'll put links to your stuff for you.
Yeah, we'll put our email and stuff out there so people can reach out if there's somebody local in the Dallas area who plays drums or bass or knows someone who might.
What do you see the future of Blind Static? Like if you had a blank mural, like you're like Picasso or something. And you had to, like, you could predict the future. What would be the future, your ideal future of the band?
I mean, we'd love to, start playing shows and go on tour. Yeah.
Yeah, ideally in a perfect world, go on tour and just keep putting out music constantly.
Yeah.
It's interesting now because, like, we're kind of living in a different time musically. Like, we put out just singles. Like, instead of putting out a full-length album, we've been just releasing song after song.
Is that just the social media gearing you toward that?
I think it's more so the streaming services gearing us towards that.
But doesn't Spotify take a quarter of those like the money you make off of? Doesn't Spotify take a hit?
They do. I'm sure they take a large percentage. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's the same whether it's a demo. And I may be wrong about this, but I think it's the same whether it's like a single or a full length album. I think their rate stays the same. So for us, it's about the same.
Yeah, I guess they just like pay by however many streams.
Yeah, that's all the streaming services really are doing an injustice to the musicians.
You think indie music is more than just the literal term? You think that's an actual like genre, indie music?
I think no. I think any band, like especially nowadays with the way that things are changing. Like right now, we're an indie band because we're not signed to a record label. And because of like the way that the world has changed and you can produce music on your own and like release it on your own, it's really changed like the role that record labels play. So I think nowadays like any band can go out and do it and put their music out for better or for worse, put it out to the world, and anybody can be an indie band and find success.
So when people think indie rock, they think that it's people trying to make it, right? Like in the business.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of like a hipster thing.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm into indie band. bands, you know?
Right.
Like, I don't like any bands that are famous.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of really good independent music out there. You know, it's just sometimes it's hard to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for being 2021, that's saying something, because if you want to find it, you can find it. I just feel like people coast on, you know, what they know, and, you know, it's easy just to download what they know.
Yeah. It's easy for us to just listen to, like, Aerosmith or something like that, because, like, that's what we like, so we're like, oh, I'll default back to that on my drive home or whatever. So, definitely, because there's so much music being put out now, because everyone has that, like, access, you have to really look to find the good stuff. But it's there. People are making good music every day.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to thank you for promoting this episode, man. I saw you were posting on stories and stuff. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. We want to help spread the word. And we're happy to do it. Thanks for having us.
So, all right, guys, where can people find you?
We're on Instagram, @BlindStaticBand. And, we should mention this. Go follow us on Facebook, because we have not been getting the love on Facebook that we've been getting on Instagram. I don't know why. I think maybe our audience is a little young for Facebook, because Facebook is like, you know, it's been around for a while. But if you're on Facebook still, then go follow our band on Facebook.
Thank you guys for being on the podcast today.
Yeah,
thanks so much for having us.
All right, well, you guys have a good night.
Have a good one.
All right, man. Take care, guys.
Bye.
All right, bye. All right, now it is time to present to you the announcement of all announcements by Model Inked Panda. So go ahead, Ink Panda. What's your big announcement?
All right, so a big announcement is I'm joining Sensibly Cynical podcast. I'm going to have my own show, which I'm super excited about, but it's going to be under Sensibly Cynical. Make sure that if you're going to follow me, you got to follow him, and vice versa. If you follow him, you got to follow me. The podcast is going to get started here real soon. We just got to do some final touches. And then I'm out of town right now. I'm currently kind of having a little vacation away from the family. So once I get back, I plan on diving in and getting together the information for the first show. I'm thinking of doing something for mental health awareness. You know, there's a lot of mental health issues that people are having, especially during COVID. And with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, I'd like to touch base on that with my very first episode. So if anybody, you know, has any information on how they cope with any depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar, I am going to bring probably one of my good photographer friends on. He is a bipolar sufferer, and he's going to talk about like what he uses besides medication to help him get through his times that are kind of hectic and whatnot, especially with COVID. And now that we're coming out of COVID, how everybody's dealing with stuff too.
But yeah, so the title is Ink Panda Unfiltered.
Yeah, I'm hoping to bring out, you know, some new fans your way, new audience, and vice versa. You have more experience in this than I do. I had brought up that I was going to do or interested in a podcast, and I remember you saying, okay, well, if you do, I got to be your first guest, and now here we are teaming up. What better way than to team up together? I think that's awesome. Yeah,
well, I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know what, Sensibly Cynical, it's numbers are good, but I was like, you know what, it needs to be taken to the next level. Now, how can I do that? And you know what's funny is I spoke to I don't know if you saw the Psychic Medium I had Dina Janelle.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was talking to her, and she goes, expect big things from the podcast this year. That's when I believe in psychics, is when shit like that happens. You know?
Exactly. When when they're spot on and you go back and you're like, wait a minute, she knew what she was talking about.
Yeah, and she also knew that my relationship was going to end in 3 weeks, and it ended in 3 weeks.
But you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I plan on kind of touching base on everything and anything. You know, once I start building more fans and followers, I would love to hear from them, like what they would want to talk about or hear about. So probably do a lot of referencing with modeling and art itself. I'm super excited.
So when
I can't tell you how excited I am. You know, like I said, but I've already started talking to a few different people that, I'm thinking about in the future to bring on.
All right, well, Ink Panda, I'm so excited to have you on board. This is going to be blessed.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I'm really excited about it. I have a lot of people that I've already kind of spoke to about it, and, they're asking me to be part of the show, and I said, well, let me get my first bad episode under me, because we know the first episode, I'm going to be nervous. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
There you go. More details to be announced later.
Thanks you again for the opportunity. I'm super excited. Remember, if you're going to follow me, you must follow him. And if you follow him, you must follow me. So
the handles are Ink Panda Unfiltered and Ink Panda 83.
Yes, that's right. Be sure to follow both. One is my modeling account. The other is going to be my podcast info.
All right. Take care. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye. Well, there you go. How about that for breaking news? I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Ink Panda join me here on Sensibly Cynical. Everyone needs to subscribe to her new podcast, Ink Panda Unfiltered. It's going to be unbelievable. All right. Follow us on Instagram at Sensibly Cynical Pod, Twitter at Cynical Sensibly, and you can check out our Facebook group. Also, if you could please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, it would be highly, 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 highly appreciated. And, like she said, follow Ink Panda at Ink Panda 83 and her new podcast account on Instagram at Ink Panda Unfiltered. Once again, I would like to thank Matt and Tiffany from Blind Static for coming on the podcast today. They will be playing us out with their hit single, Slippin' Away. Enjoy, everybody. Take care.